we're gonna do chicken cutlets and chicken nuggets to die for. The best chicken cutlets you've ever had and the best nuggets you've ever had. Best because they're made by you with love and much less calories when you prepare it at home. And I'm gonna show you how we're gonna do this. What I've prepared for us, and if you notice I have one hand gloved because this is my knife hand and I'm going to never touch the chicken with my knife hand. I'm going to show you how to fillet this beautiful breast. We're not going to pound it. We're going to fillet it nice and thinly, and we're going to get started right away. Now, the first thing I've done is cleaned all my extraneous fat off of my breast, and I hope you can see, and if you have some breasts at home and you're cooking with us, you will notice a line, a demarcation line down the breast, and that is going to separate the tenderloin, which is the most tender part of the breast. It's going to separate the tenderloin from the rest of the breast. And the tenderloin is the part of the breast that attaches to the bone, to the ribs. So what I like to do is I like to take my finger on top of my chef's knife and I like to just drive the knife through the breast and remove the tenderloin. Do you see? And this is what we're going to make our nuggets with, okay? The delicious tenderloin, okay? Now the breast here, what we're going to do is I'm going to turn it sideways to me, and I'm going to place my hand on top of the breast and I'm going to slice very thinly. And this is what we want, is a thin fillet like this, okay? Again, just placing my hand on top of the breast allows me to keep it in place as I slice through. And you notice I have my finger on top of the blade still. Look how nice and thin these cutlets come out, okay? So much easier to cook. They cook much faster and they're much more tender when they're sliced very thinly. Okay, that's one breast. Let's take another one here, okay? I'm gonna show you the line here for the demarcation for the tenderloin. I'm going to take my knife and slice one slice, pulling the knife. My elbow goes back. I don't go back and forth. One slice using the tip of the blade. Here's my tenderloin. It goes to the side. Then I turn my breast like this. So I'm going to start at the thicker end of the breast. And I'm going to slice back and forth very thinly. And the best way to be able to slice thinly like this is, guess what? Practice. Okay, and when we use the chicken at home, when we process the chicken, I like to use a gloved hand. Okay, just on the hand that is processing, touching the chicken. Remember, this knife hand never touches the meat. We don't want to cross-contaminate, and we don't want to make the knife handle slippery. So, let's do another one really fast so you guys will all be experts at this. Okay, here's my breast, here's my line demarcating my tenderloin. I'm going to take my finger on top of the blade and just slice through that line. Now I've got my tenderloins right here ready to process for my nuggets. But before I do that, I want to finish filleting the breast, okay? My hand on top. Now the knife is going to go parallel to the hand, and again, when you start to practice this, you will see it comes out a little thicker than you'd like. You know what? With practice, you'll get it nice and thin. Now, if you like it a little thicker, you can slice them thicker, but I'm going to slice these nice and thin. Now, my nuggets are here, and what I'm going to do is put my breast, my fillet is on one side. What I'm going to do is take my nuggets here, my tenderloins, and I'm going to cut across them. So I'm going to form little medallions, okay? Medallions are like little medals, okay? They're nice and round. These are my nuggets. Remember, the most tender part of the breast is the tenderloin, and that's what we're going to use for our chicken nuggets. Okay? Okay. Here I'm going to take this, just clean this quickly, remove that little piece of fat, and then I cut across the tenderloin and produce a nice, beautiful nugget, okay? Little nuggets. Okay, now, let's do this. This hand, I'm done cutting, so this is all going away. Now, what I've done is cracked an egg in my prep bowl, and I'm going to whisk this together, and this is going to be used to batter my fillets, okay? We're going to use this to create a coating that the breadcrumbs will stick to, and what's really key is that you don't add too many eggs. Now I like to start with 1 egg, do not do 2. And I'm telling you from experience, you waste a lot of time waiting for the egg to drip off of the fillet if you add 2 eggs, okay, too much egg, so too many eggs. So just 1 egg, and then we're going to take our cutlets and our nuggets, our cutlets, our fillets, okay, or our cutlets are gonna go in all at once, okay? Now, those parents and those adults that are making cutlets at home, they usually do them 1 at a time. They egg and then they bread, and then they either fry or bake in the oven. I'm recommending, to save time, you take all of your cutlets and you put them in the prep bowl with the egg all at once. Now watch this. This is such a cool time-saving trick. What we're going to do is place them in 1 at a time, and I alternate the position. I go across and then I go perpendicular so they don't stick together. I'm also grasping the fillet at the end, not in the middle, okay? And that's really, really important, okay? So here we are, and then what I love to do is just swish it together, the whole kit and caboodle, all at once, just bringing the cutlets from the bottom that are submerged in the egg wash to the top, and this way we get a nice coating, even coating of the eggs on my fillets, okay? You notice that the nuggets are still here. I'm gonna do those last, okay? So these stay together all at once. I did 3 breasts all at once. Then we're gonna do some herbs, okay? In my eggs, I'm gonna add my my fresh cracked black pepper and some fresh herbs that I chopped up about 10 minutes ago. Some fresh oregano, fresh basil. Guess what? It's going in my cutlets. So delicious, bangs up the flavor. You can use dry oregano and dry basil. I happen to have these on hand growing in my garden, so these are going to be really good. Now, you could add the spices to the breadcrumbs, but I like to really saturate the chicken with the spices underneath the breadcrumbs, okay? So either way, you could add the spice to the dry mix or to the egg mix, okay? Now, this is my super time-saving trick right here, is the high-walled Tupperware, and this is how we're gonna bread these cutlets. Now watch this. We're gonna take these cutlets, and again, you notice that 1 egg was good for 3 medium-sized breasts, okay? And we'll have plenty of egg left over for our nuggets. If we need a little bit more egg, I have another egg right here ready to crack, okay? So what we're gonna do is just mix this together. And what I've done with my breadcrumbs is I have the breadcrumbs here. You're gonna use either plain or flavored breadcrumbs, Italian breadcrumbs. I like to use the plain and then make it my own, okay? I'll add a little fresh cracked black pepper. I'll add some other dry herbs if I want to. You can do whatever you want, or you could use Italian breadcrumbs, okay? But the key here is that you notice that the wall of this vessel is very high. It's about 3 inches high. You could use 1/2 the size of this. You can use a round container. Anything you want with a lip, you're going to use to bread the cutlets. And again, what I've done is I've added breadcrumbs just to the bottom of the cylinder. You see, I don't have it any higher than 1/2 inch, okay? And this allows me to shake the breadcrumbs on to the chicken cutlets, and it works so fast. Watch this. Okay. Now, another great thing about this recipe is if you don't have time to do this all in one shot, what you could do is you could stop at any moment. You can clean the chicken the way I did here and put it away, as I did to prepare for this program. Or you could fillet them, put them back in the refrigerator or freezer. Or you could put them in the egg wash and put saran wrap on top of this and put it away in the refrigerator, come back and finish if you don't have time. What this also does by storing it in the refrigerator in the egg, it tenderizes the meat. The egg and these fresh herbs. Look at these fresh herbs. It's gonna be delicious, okay? And you notice that there's not a lot of egg in here, okay? So what I can do here is take my breadcrumbs in my left hand. With my right hand, I take my cutlets, and you notice when I pick it up, I always pick it up at the end, never in the middle, so it folds on itself. You see, we never want that. We always want this. And you'll notice that it's dripping very little because I had the perfect amount of egg. If there was too much egg, I'd have to be waiting for it to drip. What I've come up with is a way to really save time by dropping it into the breadcrumbs and then taking my next one, letting it drip as I shake the breadcrumbs. Now this is done. So I'm gonna put this one here, and this is gonna go on my tray for a minute before I put it on my oven tray, okay? We're gonna talk about how to cook the cutlets in a minute. But you notice what I'm doing here, 2 things at once. I have my egg dripping off of my cutlets, which I don't want to introduce too much egg into the breadcrumbs. It'll make the breadcrumbs clumpy. So as they're dripping, I'm shaking, and that is covered. And I want to show you what this looks like. It's done. It literally takes 2 seconds to bread the cutlet, okay? Again, I let it drip, the excess egg drip as I shake. And I love doing this class in person where I have the kids coming up and adults coming up helping to do this, and it literally takes no time. You see, as this is dripping, I'm shaking. Okay, this is done. I'm gonna place it over here. This is gonna go here. And again, it's nice and flat in my breadcrumbs. As this egg is dripping off of this cutlet, I'm gonna shake this cutlet. It's done literally in seconds. Move to the next, and look how fast, in minutes, I can process 3 medium-sized cutlets. Done. Egged and breaded. Done. Now, what's happening when I do this is it's coming off, the breadcrumbs are being thrown against the sides of the Tupperware, and it's coating the top and the bottom of the bread of the cutlet. Okay? If you don't get enough on, you just turn it over and make sure it's covered. But that's perfectly covered. Okay? Okay, and any adults that are watching this program that have been making cutlets, maybe you'll say, my gosh, I gotta try this guy's technique. It works so fast. The thing is, I can't handle watching this drip. That drives me crazy. I have to be doing something. So I put that in there, and then I let it drip. You see what I'm doing? 2 things at once. Okay, this is done. Oh man, this is gonna be so good with these fresh herbs. Okay, I really like the dry herbs too, guys. The dry oregano and dry basil. Delicious in the cutlets, okay? Now these little guys, I'm gonna get them in there. And literally, these guys are done, okay? Make sure they're covered on both sides. Okay, and we're going to just place these here. Now, what's really cool is you can take these cutlets that are already filleted, egged, and breaded, and place these in the refrigerator if you like as well. Okay, you saran wrap. Now, I have some egg on the bottom here. You see, this is where I'm gonna take my nuggets, and these are gonna go right in. Okay, this is going away. Now, I'm going to take these and just mix the egg. I did 3 medium breasts with one egg, okay? You know what, I'm gonna hit this with a little fresh cracked black pepper. Okay, I've got some fresh herbs in there. Got a few more, a little bit more here. And this is ready to go in my breadcrumbs. Now watch how cool this is. You see this? This is one of my favorite techniques, all at once. That goes under the sink to be soaked. I love to soak things, speed up the cleanup afterwards. Okay, and this is basically done. You notice that I used very little breadcrumbs. You know what, I'm just gonna add a shot of breadcrumbs on top here. You could use your right hand, your left hand, whatever you're comfortable with. Again, this is a great recipe for kids because they're not using a knife. Teens, tweens, and adults that have been doing chicken cutlets forever, one at a time in the egg, and then the breadcrumb, and then cooking them. This is the way to go, guys. Okay, so this is done, this is done. Now, 2 ways to cook the cutlets. And my mother, who taught me this recipe, how to fillet the breast very thinly, not pounding it. Remember, pounding the chicken does not tenderize it. Pounding beef works to tenderize the beef. Chicken does not respond to pounding by becoming tender. It just flattens it out. We don't want to do that. We want to fillet it nice and thinly, so they're going to come out like this. Okay, now watch. We could cook these in the oven, which is what I do all the time at home. Sometimes I love to cook it here on my electric skillet. And when I do my programs in person, I always use my electric skillet. That's what we're going to do today. But I'm going to demonstrate how to cook them at home in the oven. Okay, now, did you notice how thinly I slice these? If I cook these in the oven, a 350, 400 degree oven, and are not careful, I will overcook the white meat, the thinly sliced fillets. What we're going to do is we're going to take our olive oil, we're going to add it to our tray, okay? Enough to cover the bottom of the tray, okay? Like so. You could use canola oil or vegetable oil, whatever your preference. I'm using extra virgin olive oil, okay? And that's it. I don't need to brush it on. That's just another thing to clean oily brush. With just enough to cover the oil, the bottom of the pan with the oil, you see it's very little oil. And this is a fraction of the oil that we would use if we were gonna cook this on the stove top in a pan like moms and grandparents have been doing forever, okay? You get a crunchy, deliciously juicy cutlet, crunchy on the outside. That's what frying or the cutlets is all about. But this is much healthier and it comes out delicious every time. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place these on my pan like so. I'm going to take the thickest, if I have some that are thicker than others, those go towards the edge because the edge of the pan is hotter than the center. Remember, in the oven, this heat is coming up and around, so your thicker pieces around the perimeter of the pan and the thinner pieces in the middle, okay? So I'm gonna just put these like this, okay? And I'm going to line my oven pan with my cutlets, okay? This is a nice thick one. I'm gonna put that in the corner. This one's a little thicker too, that's going to go in the corner. You see? And this is how we do it. And this is going to go in a 350 degree to 400 degree oven, always using the lower tray first. And then after about 5 to 6 minutes of cooking on one side, we're going to take it out and we're going to flip them. Okay? You could also alternate the trays, moving from the bottom to the top to finish cooking, and then you can put a second tray on the bottom. So you're always moving from the bottom to the top. I always do 2 trays at once, okay? Now, watch what we're gonna do here. We're gonna use this amazing electric skillet. I love this thing. This is, again, plugged in here. I'm gonna get this up to 400 degrees. I'm going with my high temperature. I'm gonna use a little bit of oil on my skillet here. And we're gonna get this nice and hot. Okay, now once it starts to heat up, I'm gonna introduce my cutlets and you're gonna see how fast they cook. What's wonderful about slicing the cutlets thinly, I'm telling you, you're gonna be addicted to these cutlets. So tender, so delicious, still juicy and crunchy because of the oil. And this electric skillet is similar to doing it on the stovetop, but you'll notice I'm using very little oil. Very, very little oil. Okay, let's take this and put this away. Okay, and we are ready to rock. While I'm waiting for this to heat up, I want to talk to you quickly about the 30-minute red sauce or marinara sauce that I included in my recipe for you, which is, again, a straight marinara, no cheese, no meat, no onion, just delicious whole peeled plum tomatoes. Now I'm going to use a can of whole peeled plum tomatoes in a NutriBullet. I'm going to put this in a NutriBullet or a blender or any type of processor to break down that plum tomato. I don't like to use my hands. It ends up spurting out. I never do that. I like to use a NutriBullet. Simple blender, blend it for literally 3-4 seconds, that's it. You're infusing air into it, turns orange, it's unbelievable. Returns to its red color once it sits in the pan. I like to add whole peeled plum tomato to either tomato puree or most of the time I like to use the diced tomato, okay? So definitely 1 can of the whole peeled plum. You can make it as thick and as pulpy as you like. Now watch this. This is going on my skillet. And what we want to do is make sure that they don't touch, okay? Because when we go to flip them, we don't want them touching, okay? So I'm going to take these over here. I'm going to show you how fast we cook up these breasts, okay, chicken cutlets. Okay. Now, what I love to do is teach this class and teach how to make extra. So you're going to have this all week, guys. Okay, parents, those of you that are making this for kids, they will absolutely love this. It's going to be their new favorite chicken dish. Okay, and these, once they're cooked, they can be refrigerated or frozen. Okay, these can be cut up, put in a spinach salad. You can eat these just like this. Okay, once they're finished, straight shot of protein, 17 grams of protein per serving with these cutlets. Okay, don't forget, when these are done, we're gonna cook up these nuggets, okay? In the meantime, I'm gonna put those breadcrumbs back in here, and we're gonna take these out of here. This is how we're going to do this. We're just going to take this like this, and we're going to get these ready to go on my griddle, okay? On my electric griddle here, okay? So those of you that may have an electric skillet, it's the same procedure, same mechanism to heat. The griddle has no sidewall, whereas the skillet has a bit of a sidewall. Also comes with a cover. And I love the Presto brand to use for this technique. The Presto, Presto, is never fails you. It's a die-hard workhorse. I've been using these for over 20 years. The Presto is the way to go. You can get them at Walmart, Kohl's, Target, anywhere. An electric griddle. And people usually use these to make pancakes, but these are amazing to make the cutlets. Now, before your very eyes, you're gonna see the magic happen here. And I'm talking magic. Because with just a little bit of oil and a large surface area, do you see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 cutlets cooking at once. You can't do that in a pan on the stove. You could do it in the oven, and that's why I love to cook them in the oven. I do 2 trays at a time, alternating them from the bottom, flipping them, and then I put it on the top, and then I'll bring the top one down to the bottom, let that cook 5 to 6 minutes on one side. Take it out, you have to flip it, as I'm gonna do right now. Another trick I've come up with is to use a plastic fork. Let me get this for you here. Okay, I should have had this on my table. But believe it or not, I love, and my stoves here, I have these right next to my stove, and I use these every day when I make my eggs. The plastic fork is great when you're working with a Teflon pan. I'm not gonna use this metal fork on this Teflon coated surface. I'm going to use my plastic fork, and it's not going to stay in contact with the hot heating element. It's perfect, okay? Now watch this. Am I going to pick it up in the middle or towards the end? Always towards the end. And this was the first one I put down, so let's take a look at what it's doing here. Look at how beautiful that looks. We want to see a nice browning of the breadcrumbs, and this is exactly what we need to see. And look at how fast this cooked. Look at this. Okay, now by slicing them very thinly, I know that these are cooked at least halfway through. 3-4 minutes. Look at this. If these were really thick cutlets, I'd really have to let them sit, and it's easy to overcook the white meat. Not when you slice it thinly and you move it quickly like I'm doing here. Look at how fast. Do you see? Another minute and these are done. I'm going to get my plate and let's serve this for you. Or I'm sorry, we're going to put it aside and finish making our nuggets here. Okay? Now, once this is done, and how do you know when it's done? You can take it off and cut it through, and you want to see white. You could check it, of course, for 165 degrees in the thickest part of the cutlet. You know, once you do this a couple times, how hot your pan gets, how hot your skillet is. If you're going to do it on the stove, just use a little bit of oil, and look at how beautiful these are. And these are basically done. Now these are going to be crunchy on the outside and juicy on the inside. I promise you, these are delectable. Okay? By slicing them thinly, I know that they're done. Done. Okay, let's take this guy here. Okay, this little guy. And I'm sure you can hear that sizzle. It means that it's cooking perfectly. You notice that nothing is burning. There are no breadcrumbs, excessive breadcrumbs here that are going to burn if you do use too many. Let's let this finish cooking, and then we're going to introduce our nuggets. Okay, so this one is done. Okay, and I have developed a feel for when I press or poke with the fork into the meat, the resistance, I know when it's done. And once you start to do this, you will develop the technique as well, okay? Essentially, if they get lighter, they are cooking through beautifully, okay? Oh my God, these are gonna be so delicious. And I love to have these and serve these to my kids and my family, and serve them multiple ways. We're gonna serve it with the red sauce over some pasta. That's the way we do it in the Dell'Amore household. Chicken cutlets with pasta. Okay. We could also do this again with a delicious spinach salad. Look at these cutlets, guys. Less than 30 minutes. Okay, just a little bit of oil, okay? And we're gonna introduce our nuggets. Okay, watch this, they go right on and plop. Okay, I love to use this technique where I just plop all at once, okay? This is gonna go back in here, and if I have any other cutlets I'm going to cook with, I'm going to reserve these breadcrumbs and use them later on. Let's do this. Okay, now, we're going to separate these guys so they're not touching, again, because we have to flip them individually and we don't want them to touch, okay? So just enough oil to cover the bottom. If there's any excess oil like I have here, I'll take a nugget and just quickly bring it over to the oil, and that's gonna just brown up beautifully, okay? Now watch how quickly these nuggets cook. Now these are cut a little bit thicker than my beautiful, my God, these are absolutely beautiful. Do you see these? Okay, I wish I could serve you guys these. But just a minute or two on one side, and then they're going to be flipped, and then they're done. Okay, you notice I don't have any paper underneath. There's no oil splattering. It's all controlled. And I've been doing this a long time. You can do this, okay? What you have to do is practice, okay? And each time you do it, it gets better and better, okay? I showed you a technique using the high-walled Tupperware. And by the way, I use Tupperware because it's light. If you do this with a ceramic or glass Pyrex, it's very heavy, okay? You can do it if you do it against leaning it on the countertop. But here, this is the way to go. Doesn't have to be that big. You can do it even smaller than that, okay? You can use a vessel smaller, but with a high wall. Now watch this, guys. Look at this. Look at how fast we're cooking these. Now, what's key is that you understand, as home chefs, that you don't want to overcook the white meat. It's very easy to do that. I'm helping show you how to avoid that and prevent that from happening by slicing them thinly, and then you know you don't have to keep them cooking too long because they're nice and thin. If they're thick, they might be cooked on the outside, but you don't know if they're cooked all the way through. So better to go thin, better to learn the technique and get comfortable using the knife to fillet them nice and thinly. Look at these cutlets. You see the browning? That's what we want. Okay, I'm gonna let these finish cooking, and they're gonna be done in a minute or two. Okay, so for my sauce, again, 1 can of whole peeled plum to 1 can of diced. Okay, if you don't have the peeled plum, just use 2 cans of diced tomatoes, or use a can of diced and a can of tomato puree. I like to use 2 cans. If I'm preparing more sauce for more people, I'll use 3 cans. I'm going to take garlic and I'm going to mince the garlic and prepare this for my sauce. Now, the first thing we do, I'm going to check these now. These are almost done. I mean, literally 30 seconds more and these are done. So again, what's critical is we don't overcook the white meat. If this was thigh meat, we'd let it just sit and cook through. More saturated fat, more cholesterol in the thigh meat, can handle the heat a little bit better, does not dry out like the white meat, the breast will. So we're gonna remove these right now. I'm gonna take these and put these on another plate for us, okay? Oh my God, now these are just amazing. Now these are gonna go in a spinach salad. They're gonna go in our sauce. Serve these 10 different ways. You can give them to your kids for lunch. Straight shot of protein. Look at these guys. They're gonna be so tender inside. How can I just take them off like this, confident that they're cooked through? Because they get sliced nice and thinly, okay? Let's take these all off here. Now I could also shut off the heat and let them finish cooking, the thicker ones, with the heat, and then I don't need to worry about them overcooking. because the heat is going to slowly finish cooking them. Look at these nuggets, the best nuggets you've ever had, okay? 1/3 of the calories eating out, okay? Now, let's let these finish cooking. What I'm gonna do to prepare my sauce, the first thing I do is prepare my garlic. Now I have 2 cloves of garlic here for 2 cans of tomatoes. If I use 3 cans, I'm gonna use 3 nice pieces, nice cloves of garlic, okay? Nice big cloves, okay? I'm gonna slice this nice and thinly. And then I like to mince it. Okay, so I'm rocking the knife. First I chopped it quickly. Now I'm rocking the knife, cleaning the blade, going back to a rocking motion with my fingers on top of the blade. Always remember to clean the blade so that you can continue to mince it. It's finer and finer, okay? Rocking the blade is a great technique, you can work confidently with your fingers on top of the blade and mince this garlic very quickly. Okay, this garlic is going to go in a very small amount of oil in the bottom of my pot. Now I'm going to cook these. I usually like to make my sauce in a big pot like this, 2 to 3 cans. The first thing is a little bit of oil. Now you don't want to add too much oil. Too much oil is going to rise to the top and it's going to make the sauce very oily. We don't want that. Just enough to cover the bottom of the pan, of the pot, I'm sorry. That's going to go on my stove. And then I'm going to add my minced garlic. Now, once the minced garlic starts to turn a little brown, very quickly I add the tomatoes because I don't want to burn the garlic. There are no onions in this marinara, just garlic, basil, oregano, bay leaves. Everything is on the directions that I included in the ingredient list for the marinara sauce, which is part and included in this program. So you're getting 2 for 1 for this program. You're getting a recipe, delicious recipe for these cutlets and nuggets, but also a delicious recipe for a homemade sauce that takes literally 30 minutes. And again, I want everybody to take a look at these delicious nuggets and cutlets. Let's move this over here. And we're gonna let this soak with a little bit of water, turn it on, and everything lifts right off. If you have any grizzle, which is burnt breadcrumbs, or the chicken, when you grill chicken on the skillet, you get a grizzle on here. That's going to bring big flavor. I'm going to just remove it with some water and turn it on, and it just lifts right up and I can clean it right up. If I'm cooking it in the pan, I want to use a little red wine, a white wine, to deglaze the pan and bring that flavor to a sauce. That's delicious too. Okay, to my pot, I'm going to add, again, first thing, just enough oil, extra virgin olive oil, never canola oil in this sauce, okay? Always the best. Some oil, the garlic, and then I add the tomatoes. I then add my bay leaves, my dry oregano and basil. You could use fresh, some fresh cracked black pepper, and a little bit of salt, okay? If you're using tomatoes, by the way, I love the red pack tomato. I think it is the best tomato, canned tomato on the market. Second is the Tutta okay? But try to get your hands on the red pack. It's really worth it. You crack that open with an opener, the aroma is incredible, okay? I'm gonna cook that. I'm gonna mix it together. I'm gonna just permeate the house with this delicious red sauce smell, the marinara smell of the marinara as it's cooking, the infusion of the garlic, the oil, combined with the dry spices and the high quality tomato. You're gonna get a great sauce every time. It takes 30 minutes. Okay, let that sit covered, simmering on the stove. When it's done, we're going to plate this. Watch what we're going to do here. I have some delicious rigatoni here. What we're going to do is take my sauce that I've heated up here, and prepared for us. This is going on my pasta like so. And then my nuggets are going to come, my cutlet's going to come right on top. We're going to take this fork here. Look at this, guys. Tell me this is not a meal for a king, okay? Now, I love to serve this cutlet without any sauce. When I do the in-person programming, I never put the sauce on the cutlet. I want you to taste the crunch of the cutlet, the juiciness of the white meat underneath, cooked perfectly every time. How about we add a couple of nuggets here? Okay, remember, parents and my adult chefs and my junior chefs, when you have these done, they can be frozen in a freezer bag, Ziploc bag, and frozen. They defrost deliciously, okay? Or they can be refrigerated, okay? What do you think, guys? Is that delicious or what? Okay. This is my chicken cutlets and chicken nuggets. Perfection. I've been doing this program a long time. I'd like to dedicate this program to my mother, who taught me everything I know about cooking over 25 years ago. She's gone now, almost 10 years. I miss her so much. I am my mother, okay? I wake up early. I'm in the kitchen first thing in the morning, just like she. I dedicate this class to her. I hope that my junior chefs can make this for their mother and show their mother what they learned today. My adult chefs, I want you to try this and tell me how delicious these cutlets are.